The PlayStation 1, of course, has a massive library of timeless JRPGs, from Xenogears, Chrono Cross, and Star Ocean, to of course the highly regarded Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. However, before all those incredible games were released, there was Mediavision's first foray into the world of JRPGs, utilizing their inspiration from old spaghetti westerns such as The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, while building on their previous release of Rapid Reload, a 2D run and gun, to develop a wonderful JRPG experience akin to the SNES greats. This is Wild Arms. With the Old West aesthetic mainly acting only as atmosphere, with sprawling deserts, forests, and mountains complete with Wild West-inspired towns, villages, and cities. But don't let that remote chuck wagon or them big-ass hats fool you, because just like the 16 and 18-bit JRPGs that came before, Wild Arms is primarily full of medieval-style architecture and design. Set in the world of Filgaia, recovering from an ancient war between the humans and demons over 1,000 years ago, you begin as one of 3 dream chasers, Rudy, Jack, and Cecilia, as they begin their adventures, each individually at first, but then shortly thereafter their paths will intersect as they team up to face off against the impending threat of the demonic Quarter Knights, with their attempt to revive their mother in hopes of eliminating the human race once and for all. Now, of course, this isn't the most original or the most inspired plot or storyline for a JRPG. I mean, the whole good versus a terrible evil just for evil's sake has been a mainstay of the genre since the dawn of time. But it does serve as an effective device in which to move the story along, a story that is incredibly charming and fun in its simplicity and straightforwardness. With the ability to switch between any of the 3 character stories at first, gives you the ability to learn a little more of the character's backstory than I think you would have had otherwise. With Rudy being an orphan who has been taken in and given shelter before having to use his arm, an ancient and dangerous weapon that other humans fear, in order to save a child from the village from being attacked by a monster, he is then cast out of the only home that he has known to wander the world alone. Thanks for nothing, GTFO per mayor of Shitsville. Jack is a treasure hunter / adventurer who is seeking the ultimate power to aid him in avenging his past, as well as to get rich with discovered treasure in remote and dangerous places. He's accompanied by his companion, a talking wind mouse that has the ability to skitter across the caverns in order to grab loot. And Cecilia, a young woman who has been studying at the Magic Guild as a very promising yet absent-minded mage. As she approaches her graduation, she is of course contacted telepathically by a guardian, granting her the power that will lead her down the path of saving Filgaia. Now, with this being such an early entry into the genre of JRPGs for the PlayStation, the developers were clearly still trying to figure out how to implement 3D elements into the game. Coming off more as an enhanced SNES JRPG, Wild Arms looks gorgeous. Although they did, attempt some 3D within the battle scenes. Yeah, a noble effort, but didn't turn out the prettiest. However, the 3D battles are effective and serve as a reminder that you are, in fact, playing a PlayStation 1 instead of your Super Nintendo that is currently collecting dust. The rest of the game outside of battle has a timeless feel and design. It wasn't until around 10 years or so after I originally played the game that I was even able to beat it. Not because it's a super difficult game by any means, but because the game being on a disc, and me being a shitty little kid who didn't take care of his stuff back then, the disc, of course, inevitably got a big old scratch that made the game completely spaz out towards the end. I wasn't even sure how the game came into me and my brother's collection at the time. I mean, collection is a strong word, more like a few loose discs laying around. It just kind of showed up in a generic jewel case one day. So I moved on, and then years later finally came across another copy and finally completed it. And I really do love the straightforward aspect. I mean, as I've talked about in other videos, modern JRPGs are of course fantastic, but I personally just don't have the time or patience to learn system after system when it comes to combat, leveling up, or a combination of both. And with Wild Arms, it keeps the battle nice and simple. You have your standard melee attacks, your magical attacks, known as quick draws in regards to Jack, and Rudy has his arm attacks that uses ammo that you can reload and upgrade at towns. You also have the ability to summon guardians, a la Final Fantasy, that can land some devastating elemental blows towards enemies. The puzzles are also very well done, ranging from the obvious lift a vase and throw it, hit the switch and move on, to complex, full-on multi-part puzzles with some dungeons such as the Pleasing Guardian acting as the puzzle itself. The towns are also laid out well and feel different from the previous one that you visit. These towns are of course where you'll purchase the majority of your equipment, but you can often discover powerful weapons and items during your exploration of dungeons. Speaking of which, the game is chock full of some very well designed dungeons where you can suss out some new quick draw techniques for Jack, and every so often you'll stumble across a much coveted metal chest that has a new arm for Rudy. The soundtrack is also one of my favorite aspects of this game, composed by Michiko Naruke, taking inspiration from popular westerns such as the aforementioned The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Michiko blended traditional instruments with modern touches. Not only has Naruke composed for all of the Wild Arms games in the series, but she's also worked on titles such as Super Smash Bros., and is currently composing music for the Wild Arms indie successor, Armed Fantasia. So where can you play it? Well, you can either go down the whole Amazon or eBay route, or if you just happen to have yourself a little piece of shit right here called the PlayStation Mini. Yeah, this hot piece of garbage that isn't even worth the plastic that it's made on. It actually has a serviceable version of Wild Arms on it, albeit it being the PAL version, of course. But hey, beggars can't be choosers, and you can probably pick that up in your local dollar store clearance bin, or you can just download a PlayStation emulator and a ROM like any self-respecting adult would do. With a concise storyline, straightforward mechanics, and solid characters, if you're a fan of old-school JRPGs, or even the simplistic, streamlined style of smaller indie RPGs, you should definitely check out Wild Arms. Now, the length of time it takes to beat the game can vary. If you had the same luck as me, playtime could take you around about, one whole last decade, or 87,600 hours, give or take a few minutes there, but normally it should take you around 30 hours. And there is also that spiritual successor in the works that I talked about earlier from some of the original development team called Armed Fantasia, a Western punk themed JRPG. It has been fully funded through Kickstarter, but it's run into some issues with publishers. Hopefully though, everything gets ironed out and we get it at some point because it does look pretty amazing. But what do you guys think? Have you ever played Wild Arms before? Are you a fan of the series, or is this just something that you're like, not really into? Let me know that and everything else in the comments below. And if you would, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help out the channel a lot. But again, thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.